Hello, friends, and welcome to Thursday's edition of the Kings of Anglia podcast. Yes, Ipswich Town failed to win on Tuesday night. Yes, World War III has started this morning. And yes, the weather is really rather poor. But put that all to one side, put it to the back of your mind for the next half an hour or so, and let the Heath and Hutch connection cheer you right up. Mark Heath, Andy Warren here. Hutchie, things are bad, but things are always good when we're on this podcast. How are you?
This is what the world needs, isn't it? 45 minutes of Ipswich Town chat that would just heal so many wounds.
Can we send this to Putin? Cheer him up.
Someone needs to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Someone needs to cheer that man up.
100%. Oh, what's this? I say it's me and Hutchie. There is an infiltrator. He's currently dancing in the background. And we should probably tell for people who are wondering what's going on. Roscoe was recording Meet the Opposition this morning, so he said, come on later on. Hutchie, what do you think? I mean, obviously he's late. How are you feeling about adding him in?
We can see him. Like, if you're watching this on video or listening on audio, you can't see or hear him, but we can. There's a little kind of waiting room at the bottom. Can you hear us in there, Ross? Yep, he can.
Yeah.
He's making all sorts of weird kind of facial expressions, arm waves. Oh, the tongue's come out.
Nah.
Your tongue is massive. Look at that.
We got to bring him in, Hutchie.
Huge. Get in.
We got to bring him in. Get in here and show people your tongue.
That's absolutely massive.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
That is an oversized tongue there, Roscoe. Something I never knew about you. How are you? How was Meet the Opposition?
It was very good. Good old Derek Quinn. Of course, Derek Adams is now the manager at Morecambe. But he was good lad. He said Morecambe have got the best pies in the Football League. So we'll have to review that on the pod on Monday. So there we go.
Fish pies, are they?
I don't know. I didn't actually ask what was in them. I just said
cockles.
Cockles.
Yeah.
What's his name? Good old who?
Derek Quinn.
Good old Derek Quinn. What does he qualify as good old?
40 years covering Morecambe as a fan, journalist.
So he's actually old.
You just mean literally old?
Yeah, or he doesn't look that old, but yeah, he was a good lad. Good lad.
Excellent. Fair enough. Look out for that then, friends, later on. Meet the Opposition video with Roscoe going out, as it does every week. Superb content from the KOA Kings of Anglia channel. Right then, friends. Roscoe's here, so we can talk about the game Tuesday night. Hutchie, 0-0. Watching you and Stu's reaction after the game, you were visibly frustrated. Stu less so. I mean, obviously, given this job, we try and stay objective as journalists, but clearly we all want Town to do well. We're all Ipswich Town fans to one extent or another. And post-game, you just look a bit miffed.
Yeah, I am. I'm still frustrated about it. The standards have been raised at Ipswich recently, and being frustrated about this draw and dropping points doesn't mean that you're not kind of wholeheartedly encouraged by Kieran McKenna and what's going on. I think they're in such a good place at the moment. But I just left feeling very frustrated that they weren't in an even better place, because they did all the hard work to win. Like, I still think they've done such a good job in closing this gap to the playoffs, and everything's bunching together. They're right in the mix, but it still feels like they've got an almighty job on their hands to have the consistency to get to where they want to be. I think they're good enough to get there. I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind that had Kieran McKenna been in this job longer, that we'd see an Ipswich team right in the mix. But I just left feeling frustrated after we'd all watched a game where Ipswich had such a good half and created all the opportunities to win it and take 2 more points, just to make that task a little bit more easy. We've said this so many times, but so much of what's going on at Ipswich is framed and in relation to how bad the start was, because a 0-0 draw at home to Cheltenham and a half decent performance isn't a disaster. Of course it's not. It's absolutely fine. Had things been just that bit better at the start, it would have been absolutely fine. I'd agree with Kieran McKenna. Draws are really no good. Ipswich. They need wins, and this was a chance to come away with one. So yeah, I do still feel a bit frustrated by it, but it doesn't mean I'm not kind of heartened by everything that's going on. And I don't think it means I don't think that's going to be the difference to them not making the playoffs or not. Like you would look back at it, and we'll if they don't make it, we'll all be looking back to the start of the season. It's not drop points like this, but two points that were there for the taking.
In terms of the start of the season, just as an aside, I see Paul Cook maybe struggling a little bit at the start of Chesterfield, isn't it? It's not going quite to plan.
It's not. The ground has not been hit running in that one. They lost at home to Wrexham on Tuesday.
Yeah, big money Wrexham. We'll come on to the kind of implications in due course. Obviously, Town could have cut the gap to the playoffs with results going for them elsewhere. Ended up remaining at 4 points. Could have been 2. Rossi, Kieran McKenna after the game said that this was the best first half performance that he's seen in his time at Town. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'll say that. I think they continued the flow of the win on Saturday. The first half we had our chances. Sadly, we didn't take on Wes Burns' chance. I don't know how he didn't score that volley. Oh, what an opportunity! But yeah, I just felt second half after the restart, we just went flat. We weren't being the normal tippy tappy 1-2s as we normally are. Lou Wolfton did a lot of long balls. But yeah, first half we had chances. Just didn't take them, and Cheltenham did a Cheltenham, and boring Cheltenham. Well, they were happy with a point, but yeah, frustrating. As Hutchie said, it was a frustrating second half. Just we could have played all night, and we wouldn't have scored.
One of the big talking points we'll talk about at the end of this, Hutchie, is obviously the Lee Evans injury and how Town approached that going forward. But in this game, they replaced him with Tom Carroll. How did you think that Tom did in that midfield alongside Morsey?
The first half, I thought he was as much a part of it as anything. He's good on the ball. He can sweep the ball around. He played some nice little clever passes into gaps in behind defenders, broke the lines. That's a half that suited Tom Carroll. I think he suits games where his team has the ball a lot. He suits games where his team are pushing forward a lot. Second half, it's not the first time we've seen sort of Tom Carroll kind of drift out of games as the minutes rack up on him, and that happened again in this one. I thought he did okay actually in the first half, but I thought he drifted out of it. In the second. They do miss Lee Evans.
And we'll talk about that in due course. What did you make of the team as a whole, Hutchie? I mean, the back 8, obviously Evans aside in this case, picks itself these days. Front 3 was Selina, Chaplin, and KJ again. How do you think those 3 fared as a trio?
Yeah, that's probably, if I'd been on the podcast on Monday, that's probably the 3 I would have gone for. Probably the team I would have gone for actually, without obviously with Evans. I thought they did okay again. First half looked great. They weren't able to use Jackson in quite the same way. He was the central striker this time rather than playing wide, and they weren't able to. They tried to thread him away and tried to use him. He worked hard. He did some good things. He didn't hit the heights of Saturday. I don't think he was ever going to hit the heights of Saturday. He was absolutely brilliant on Saturday. Selina, I thought, played well. First half in particular, it's all much the same. That all these players had better first halves than they did second. I like Chaplin and Selina as a pair behind a striker. I wonder whether they are more suited to playing with Bon in that kind of setup. But no, I thought first half all of them did everything but score. Chaplin had a diving header saved. As Ross said, the big chance was the Wes Burns one inside 5 minutes. If that had gone in, I think we'd have had another kind of Burton result on our hands to be talking about here. But it didn't. And then all of these players sort of drifted away in the second half as things just got that little bit tougher. So it's a pretty familiar tale. We've seen that one before, haven't we?
Are you saying, Hutchie, that it was a game of 2 halves?
It was a game of 2 halves. A draw is better than a loss.
It is,
exactly. And they could have lost this game as well.
They could have lost this game. Let's stick with the positives. They could have lost this game. They didn't. They also, Rossi, in terms of positives, made it 5 clean sheets in a row, which is equaling a club record. And that's obviously it's tough to see that as a consolation after a game you should have won. But the fact that Town now are so solid at the back is something not to be overlooked, is it?
Definitely not, because under the Paul Cook era, every game we're expecting to concede a goal, also score goals. Walton again making some good saves. Cheltenham, they could have nicked that at the end. They had a corner, didn't they, at the end there, and it's like, oh god, here we go. But thankfully, we're able to keep that out, and we went up and got another clean sheet. And I think I said it on the pod on Monday, it's just the foundations of a good team. You've got that back four there, keeping these clean sheets. And unfortunately, we just didn't find the killer goal. As such said, if Wes Burns scored that early goal, I think we would have been scoring for fun. It would have been showers of goals, but unfortunately not. That's not the right phrase, is it? What's the phrase?
Raining goals. I like showers of goals.
I like showers of goals.
Yeah,
I'm in for that.
Ipswich Town was showering in goals on Saturday as they beat Morecambe 10-0. There we go. Store that one for future reference, Hutchie. What did you make, Andy, yesterday of Michael Duff's comments post-match, which actually ended up being the most read thing on our websites yesterday, where he said essentially, to kind of give you a shortened version, he wasn't bothered about the boring Cheltenham chants, because that meant that Ipswich Town fans were more interested in them than they were in supporting their own team. He's quite happy with a 0-0. They had more than enough excitement on Saturday when they drew 5-5 with Wickham. And also that we're under no obligation. This is the one that kind of interested me the most. We're under no obligation to come here and play football, essentially. We don't have to do that. We can play however we want to play. What did you make of it? Allegations of time wasting. He says that was nonsense as well. That was just genuine cramp. That's the worst thing you can get in football. What did you make of them?
He's right, isn't he? Of course, they can come and do whatever they want. They're not obliged to kind of play Ipswich at their own game, because if they did, they would be beaten, because Ipswich have got better players and are better at it. There's a reason why teams like Cheltenham are able to kind of do well, and that's because they can do these things. You know what? This wasn't like the Oxford game, which is kind of the last time we had this sort of big discussion, didn't we, about boring Oxford. Oxford was very, very blatant. I didn't think that on this occasion. It's frustrating. Of course, it's frustrating. They stopped Ipswich in getting their rhythm in the second half. But as we say so many times, they kind of had the right to do that. That Wes Burns chance goes in after 5 minutes. There's not a chance that you're looking at sort of wasting time and seeing things out. I'll put this one more on Ipswich, if I'm honest. It's annoying. Of course, it's annoying to watch, but you kind of put yourself in that situation by not taking your chances and not doing the business. I didn't think it was as bad as the Oxford game, which was a little bit ridiculous.
Okay, and the other thing in terms of post-game stuff, Kieran McKenna, Hutchie said, made reference to kind of fatigue in key positions and players maybe crossing that Stuart Watson amber zone line, or is it the red zone? I can't remember. Is it amber or red?
You kind of get into the amber zone, and that's when you start questioning it. If you're in the red, then
it's too late.
Immediate action is needed. Otherwise, you've lost your chance.
Is that a fair comment? Do you think you made reference to Town kind of tailing away in the second half? Are there players there you're looking at thinking they maybe need a rest?
Yeah, to an extent. The obvious one that springs to mind is Wes Burns, I think, who has played through injuries at times this season. I love watching Wes Burns. He's been a great signing. His final ball hasn't really been at it in the last couple. Maybe he's one. I'm not sure where else on the pitch potentially you'd be looking at. You're certainly not looking at the defence. They kept on plugging in that regard. I don't know. Maybe Chaplin slowed up a little as the game goes on. He gives everything for every minute of every game. I'll tell you what, one thing I was disappointed that the substitutes weren't able to lift it any kind of levels. Macaulay Bond came on, didn't really get into the game. Vincent Young came on for Dominic Thompson. Maybe Dominic Thompson's feeling it a little bit. He's had a good run of games, having not played loads for Brentford. But Vincent Young, who in theory is more of an attacking fullback than Thompson, wasn't able to get into that game and stretch things from fullback. Bond wasn't able to get cracking, and Piggott Piggott wasn't able to make any kind of impact coming off the pitch. Really, he took one right off Selena's foot, kind of in the Selena zone, in the Fleetwood winner zone, that you would back him to have scored that. That was frustrating. So yeah, the substitutes didn't lift Ipswich. And if you're going to go, if you are tailing off and you are kind of falling away a little bit flat, what you really need is your subs to come on and lift it. And they weren't able to do that.
Well, how are you feeling about your boy Macaulay these days, Roscoe? I can't remember off the top of my head what the goal drought is officially now, but it's definitely a
7.
barren.
I think it's 7 without now.
7 without. And he's no longer that nailed on starter that he once was. How are you feeling about your boy Bon?
It's been a disappointment, I have to say. I'm sure he's disappointed that he's not been able to get those runner games and get those goals. Unbelievable fairy tale start to his Town career. Of course, lots happened. Of course, the system change and Kane Jackson's out of nowhere form. I think he's going to be disappointed. I know Town fans probably going to be disappointed that he hasn't hit the heights of what he did at the start of the season. But you're not always going to have that. You're not always going to score every game, every week. It's just one of those things. But I'm sure he's disappointed that he hasn't able to score loads of goals under McKenna. When a new manager comes in, you want to be that striker who can score goals and fire us into the playoffs. But hopefully he can have a nice little period now, end of the season, trying to get us into that playoffs. Hopefully he can find his scoring form, but he's not starting at the moment, so it's hard to come off the bench.
It's actually no goal in 8. Sorry, I hadn't counted Tuesday night, and 1 in 19. So it's not.
Blimey.
It's not great, is it?
Arid. Are you seeing any difference in the way Macaulay's playing, Hutchie, from earlier in the season? Or is it literally just that it's just not dropping for him?
He's still contributing. I like him more as a starter than I do as a substitute. Not really. I think he's still contributing. He's just there's maybe he's scored 1 goal in 19. He's not going to have the kind of the spring in his step, is he? And when he was absolutely drizzling goal, what was it? Showering goals.
Yeah.
When he was showering goals, Ross, everything he touched turned to gold, didn't it? Like obviously the Sheffield Wednesday thing to set up that goal, the touch to keep the ball in play and ram it home against Portsmouth, the brilliant goal against MK Dons. Everything he was touching was going in, and that he must have been floating on air. Just so much confidence and hype, and it wasn't just the goals, was it? That was the peak of kind of like Bon mania at that point. He was everything to Ipswich. He was having his poster put up on the side of a stadium that he'd only played in 6 times or something silly like that. Everything. He must have been on such a high that you're just on that adrenaline, but that's not there for him now. It's maybe having to come from within a little bit more, but I still think he's contributing when he's starting games and is kind of central to the game plan. He's still, when we talk about this ahead of every game, don't we? Who should play up front? He's still the first kind of thought in my mind is it should probably be Macaulay Bon. I can see the game plan that has worked for Jackson. I've really enjoyed watching Jackson, but the first thought when we have that conversation is always, for me, is still Macaulay Bon. And I don't know whether maybe that's me kind of hanging on to the recent past a little bit. I don't know, but that's just where my mind goes straight away is that he's the best all-round sort of jack of all trades, but also capable of incredible moments striker that they've got. I still believe that. And I think he's still definitely got a big role to play.
Someone we've not talked about for a while is James Norwood. Do we know? He's kind of tailed off, hasn't he? From what was a fantastic month. Was it January one player? I can't remember.
He won it in January, but it was for December.
Yeah. So he had this fantastic resurgence. What do we make of Jack? He's not carrying an injury or anything, is he?
No. I think he's just lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. Hutchie's just muted himself. There we go.
Yeah, this wire is my microphone wire is a little bit close to my stomach. If I get
just stop breathing, Hutchie. It's no problem.
I can't do that. I'd die. No, he's just lost in the shuffle a little bit, I think. Jackson's resurgence obviously has pushed things down a little bit. Pigott's had chances recently, and James is kind of the odd man out there at the moment. It's a bit surprising. He's an actual goal scorer, but I mean, I feel sure that he'll be back in the 18 again at the weekend, and it wouldn't completely shock me if he came straight back in to start. We've seen it before, haven't we? That kind of you're shuffling around the strikers, and actually someone comes from left field. I think Joe Pigott came from not making the bench at MK Dons. I think I'm right in saying off the top of my head, he didn't even make the bench at MK Dons, but started on the weekend against Burton. So wouldn't completely shock me if the same kind of route happened for James Norwood. I tell you what has got James Norwood written all over it: Fleetwood away.
Yes.
It just feels like a game that James Norwood could really contribute in up against Toto at Fleetwood. It just feels like a James Norwood game, as does Morecambe, if I'm completely honest. So it wouldn't shock me at all if he kind of went from nowhere to being a starter in at least one of the next two.
Maybe those are games he's being pointed at, as we discussed
Possibly.
on Monday. Any other notes from the game before we kind of move on to issues arising from Hutchie, Roscoe? Anything else to mention game related?
It was dry.
That was the main thing for Rossi.
Yeah.
Have your jeans dried out from Saturday yet, Rossi?
Yeah, of course I washed them since, but they've just not. It was a nice evening actually. It was a frustrating watch, but just a nice weather-wise, great crowd again, 20+ thousands.
Yeah,
at Portland in League One on a Tuesday night.
It's mental,
Just madness. Props to Town fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, since that, Town have sold out another away end at Oxford next month. Tremendous support, almost 2,000 there again. Hutchie, we touched on it earlier. The wider picture, the playoff picture, Town's still 4 points off. Could have been 2. But teams above them are conspiring to kind of draw Ipswich Town back towards them, aren't they? I mean, Sunderland have been basically in free fall for a while. Plymouth have been struggling as well. Town still in 9th, 52 points, 12 games left. Sunderland are in 6th, same amount of games, 56 points. Obviously, the likes of Sheffield Wednesday and Wickham, who are just above Town, have played less games than Town. But how are we feeling about the wider picture? I don't suppose really anything's changed, has it? Other than the fact that was a game you'd think they could have won and moved a bit closer.
Yeah.
It's still a case of having to win, 7, 8, 9 games of their remaining 12, isn't it?
Yeah, I really think there are certain games you could get away with a draw in, I think, but draws are no. Draws don't feel any good to Ipswich, and to that end, I kind of Ipswich got a late corner in this one, and I kind of had a little glimpse down the other end to see what's Christian Walton doing here. At what point does that start to happen? But no, look, they're in a good place. If there were another 10 games on top of that left, I would feel really, really, really confident that they would get in. I really do. It's going to require a supreme amount of consistency. We all knew that games like Tuesday night were going to happen, didn't we? It would happen at some point, and there are games in there that they're probably going to lose between now and the end of the season. But if they can get those 8, 9, maybe even 10 wins, I think they could get there. You've mentioned Plymouth and Sunderland there. Both have changed their managers in recent weeks and months, and it's not Sunderland in particular is a bit of a dumpster fire, isn't it? With the sacking of Lee Johnson, it's not gone very well. Alex Neil is someone you'd back to do the business there, but he's not had the instant impact that McKenna's had here. So I feel good about it. I feel really good about the club. I feel really good about this team. I like watching them. I like what they do. I like what Kieran McKenna does. I just can't shake the disappointment for how badly they started this season and how much of a handicap they've given them. I think they've got a real chance of getting in there, and if they do, it's going to be some ride the next couple of months for them to kind of surge in. So no, they're there, aren't they? They've put themselves in the picture. And they weren't in the picture.
They were completely out of the picture, weren't they?
Yeah.
There always seems to be. I don't know if it's actually is something that happens every season. There always seems to be a team that comes galloping from the back of the field, goes into the playoffs, charging with momentum, and more often than not ends up going up. And there does feel that kind of feeling around Town at the moment, doesn't there, in terms of the way it's going under McKenna?
I think they're good enough to do that. I think they're good enough to be that team. I think they're good enough to. You've got a team built with a defence that I would back to win playoff games because of it. I think they've got themselves into a place where they're a good enough football team to be better than what's in the playoffs. Like if we're talking about, do you remember the Marcus Evans proposal to let's just extend the playoffs down to 10th?
Yeah.
At the end of that season, have a massive playoff tournament. At the end of the COVID season, if that was to happen, I'd back them to win it. But the big thing is getting into it to give themselves a chance, and they've given themselves a chance of having a chance. And I'm really excited to see what they do with it over the next 2 months.
So you're saying there's a chance? Excellent.
Saying there's a chance.
But if you look at the table, obviously we talked there about teams above them in a bit of free fall, and they have to play teams above them still, don't they? That run in March is massive. You still got to play Oxford, you still got to play Plymouth, they've still got to play Portsmouth, who are just below them in that month of March. They've still got Wigan to come, so all teams to come, a potential opportunity to take points off the teams above them and go charging into those playoffs. We will see.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we're gonna be starting watching kind of the Ipswich's blank midweeks at some point as well, because Sheffield Wednesday above them have got, and you always have to look at this table. You look at it in a worst case scenario, don't you? Sheffield Wednesday have got 2 games in hand. They might win those 2 games. They also might not. But if they do, that puts Sheffield Wednesday 9 points ahead of Ipswich. If Wycombe win their 1 game in hand, that puts them 6 ahead of Ipswich. If Plymouth win their 2 games in hand, let me do some maths, that puts them 10 points ahead of Ipswich. They're not all going to win all of those games. Of course they're not. But there's all of that just to shake out as well. I'll be honest, I don't know when these teams play those games. I might have a little look when we finish recording just to see when we might start to get a true table to look at again. Like if Portsmouth have got 3 games in hand, if they win them all, I don't think they will, but if they do, they go ahead of Ipswich as well. So it's there's quite a lot to shake out here, but it doesn't change how I feel about the team that Ipswich are putting together. That's and if they're going to get in there, they're the ones that are going to have to do it themselves.
Just looking at the fixtures this weekend, for example, sides above or in that kind of 5th, 6th spot, Plymouth at home to Rotherham, runaway league leaders. So you'd say Rotherham are going to be favourites there. And then Wigan are hosting Sunderland. And again, you can't see that going any other way other than the Wigan win this weekend.
You've got to hope for the top 2 to do them favours now, because they're gone. So we want them to romp away, don't we, and win everything apart from their games over Easter.
We want it to be showering goals, don't we, Rossi? In terms of what Town can do and how successful they can be over the next few games, that's going to be impacted by some news that came out and kind of got lost in the shuffle after the game. Kieran McKenna confirming that Lee Evans is going to be out for, quotes, a few weeks with a knee injury that he suffered late in the Burton game, which is a pretty major blow, isn't it, Rossi? Evans and Morsey are, when both fit and available, and they've not been fit and available together much this season, but their consensus first names on the team sheet. Clearly, we're going to have a chat about who replaces Lee Evans. But in terms of a blow for Town, Evans, strangely, seems to kind of split opinion often among Town fans. But he's important to this side, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a massive blow. You know, he was the missing link, wasn't he? On Tuesday, he was outstanding on Saturday, and yeah, unfortunately, Lee Evans and Sam Morsey, they are the best midfield partnership at the club, but they've not been able to really have a run of games, and they've had a run of games recently. But of course, Morsey got his suspension. But that is the best partnership, and it is a massive blow. You know, we saw that really on him. Tom Carroll had a okay first half, but then he went missing in the second half. It's now up to Carroll, Backerson, El Mazzuni to step up in Evans, with him now going to miss the next few weeks. As you said, he's different opinions from Town fans. They like Lee Evans, but then there's times where they don't like him, if you know what I mean. I think he's one of those players, but I know his Doncaster game was bloody months ago, but what a game that was for him. And he's had a few other games like that where he's been superb. So it is going to be a big blow, and we shall see who replaces him in that midfield.
Before we get on to who replaces him, Hutchie, and obviously there's three kind of options really. Can you talk a little bit about how Lee Evans and Morsey work together and what makes them effective?
Well, for a start, they've played 99 matches together as a pair, which is substantial. And I think Lee Evans is he's taken Cole Scous's number 8 shirt, and he's also taken Cole Scous's sort of position in being overlooked a little bit, because I think if you use kind of the analogy of a band, like Sam Morsey's the front man and Lee Evans is kind of he's not on the maracas. He's
not the best.
He's not. I'm not Bez. He's he's on the drums or bass or something, but it's all about midfield blends, and these two have got a real good blend in midfield. Morsey is the front man. He's the eye catcher, kind of the marauder, particularly under McKenna. Actually, I've been so much more impressed with Morsey under McKenna than I have under Cook, which is strange to say, given how much history they have. But Morsey's the marauder. He breaks things up, gets on the ball. He's the one that will drive forward with it at feet. Evans is kind of the sweeper in behind. He sweeps from side to side, gives the midfield its lateral movement, whereas Morsey gives it vertical. That's both with his movement, taking the ball from the back three. He drops in and allows the back three to step out with the ball. He's got a wicked set piece, sort of open play. His open play crossing is great. Like he can whip these balls into the near post, which is great to watch. His set pieces are okay. We know Ipswich aren't profiting from those, but he kind of gives Ipswich their lateral movement, which should really help bring the fullbacks into play as well, because he can back them up. They just work well as a pair. When we sort of started our sort of pre-season chat, I remember I put Lee Evans down as my best signing at that point. That was before Morsey arrived, and in hindsight, without Morsey, Evans isn't the same player. Morsey's not the same player without Evans either. So it's all about midfield blends. They complement each other really nicely, and that's why it's such a blow to kind of have had them available. I think it's 18 starts they've made together all season. There's been so many reasons why. Morsey's suspension. Evans has missed games because his wife's given birth. Evans has picked up injuries in the warm-up. He was ill as well. He's had niggles of his own. So they just work well as a pair, and it's like me and Stu. Stu's the Morsey. I'm the Evans.
Who's the Bears in the Ipswich Town team, just out of interest?
On the maracas?
Yeah.
It was Miles Kenlock. Who's on maracas now? I don't know.
We'll think about that. Have a think about that while we continue chatting, Hutchie. So clearly there is going to be a drop off with no Lee Evans. That is unfortunately inevitable, you have to say. The three replacement potential: you've got Tyreek Backinson, you've got Tom Carroll, obviously played Tuesday night, and you've got Idris El Mazouni, who we've referred to quite often on this podcast as the best kind of Sam Morsey replacement that Town have got. He hasn't got to replace Morsey; he's got to replace Evans now. So, of those three, Hutchie, is there one that you kind of are leaning towards over any of the others? No.
And I think Kieran McKenna kind of summed it up himself on Tuesday night. He spoke about there not being a player with the same profile as Evans to come in. I think we've seen that in McKenna's team selections as well. I was going through it this morning, and Kieran McKenna has started matches with 7 different midfield pairings. He's only had 11 games in charge. There's been seven different pairings in midfield, and Morsey and Evans have played 4 of those. Morsey and Carroll have played 2, and that's the only other pairing that's started more than 1 match together. So I think we're going to have to just face up to the fact I don't think there is. Let's say Lee Evans misses 6 matches for argument's sake. I don't think we'll see. There's not a replacement. I don't think that's going to come in and play 6 matches. I think there are games that will suit Tom Carroll, and I think in theory Tuesday night with Cheltenham, that was a game that suited Tom Carroll. We saw that in the first half, games where Ipswich are plainly going to dominate the ball, teams might sit back a little bit and allow them space to work. I think those games will suit Tom Carroll. I think we might see him play more home games than we do away games. And there are games that maybe the kind of the upside of Tyreek Backinson will suit Town more, suit the games more. And I'd probably maybe put this Morecambe game in that bracket. My gut feeling is that we might see Backinson this weekend, possibly even in the Fleetwood game, and then Carroll maybe in some more of the home games. That's my gut feeling. If really I look at it and I think the best likeness is Tom Carroll for Lee Evans, but there are some sides of the game that are missing. The physical side of it isn't there for Carroll. We can see him get leggy after an hour. So I think much with the strikers, I think we're just going to have to get used to seeing a bit of a blend going on here. But the crucial thing now is if Sam Morsey needs to stay fit and out of suspension trouble, because then we're kind of back into the rolling of the dice section. So they've got good players. I like. There's things I like about Carroll. There's things about Backinson. There's things I like about Idris El Mazouni as well. But I don't think one of them is going to be a slam dunk replacement for Lee Evans over this period. I think we'll see them all.
You've not really, in terms of there, you've talked about Carroll and Backinson. You didn't really mention El Mazouni. Do you think he's kind of the outsider of that trio in terms of replacing?
Yeah, probably. But I think as you said at the very start of this chat, he's probably the Morsey replacement. Probably, I'm not entirely convinced by that, if I'm honest. But he does seem to be kind of further away than Backinson and Carroll. But I do like El Mazouni. He's got a bit of grit about him. He's he maybe would keep the ball more than Evans. I like Idris as well. I'm disappointed we've not seen more of Idris over the last few years, but it's hard for him. He's the one that he didn't make the bench on Tuesday night. I would probably put him at the back of the queue of the three, but you know what? He's actually got maybe combined attributes that brings a little bit of everything to the party, but maybe. I honestly don't know. I think we're in the same realm as the strikers now. We're going to see someone different for different games.
If there's one thing I do know when it comes to lineups and team selection, the man to ask is Ross Halls. Rossi, famously a big fan of predicting teams and lineups and who should play where. Of the three that we've discussed replacing the Evans, is there one that you're leaning more towards? Don't just say I agree with everything Hutchie's just said.
I do, but I also have my own opinion as well, so I will bring that to the floor.
Excellent.
Backinson.
Yeah?
Tyreek Backinson. I think he'll be the perfect man for this game. So that is my answer.
Why?
I think he came off the bench, didn't he, on Tuesday? Did he come off the bench?
No.
No.
God. I was there.
You last saw him at MK Dons.
Yeah.
MK Dons. And I think he played okay then. So I think this is just his sort of game, I feel. I think Carroll just, I don't know, second half, don't ask David Fletcher about Tom Carroll because it's not his biggest fan, or even Joe Pigott. I won't use the words he used about those players. But no, I think Backinson, I like him. And I like to see him start. And I think, going up to Morecambe, a tight ground, I think he'll be the perfect man for that midfield. And just to try out, I know McKenna has tried different midfields, as Hutchie's already mentioned, the amount of play, partnerships we've had already in that midfield. I think he could just have that extra forward as well.
With Backinson, the reviews we got from Bristol City is that 1 week he would have a stormer, the next he would have a not stormer, a drizzle. And I think we've seen elements of that. There's things I really like about him. I like his kind of vision to play these nice little one-touch pop passes, which he did at MK Dons to release Morsey a few times to run at the defence. I quite like that. But we also at MK Dons saw him give the ball away in some tough areas a couple of times, and another time where he pulled out of a tackle and then in a dangerous area, which would have put Ipswich in real trouble at that point. But his only way out of that was then to commit a foul and get a yellow card to kind of haul himself out of that trouble. So I there are some real things to like about him, but there are some things maybe not so good as well. If you can get him in there and get him on a really good day, I think he could be the answer. I think he probably will be the one this weekend, but what do I know? We'll find out at 2:00 on Saturday.
We will. Oh, what was that? Someone's just dropped something.
Dropped a pen.
Dropped a pen. There we go. Just in case you were worrying, friends. The house isn't falling apart. Let's go on to this weekend then, Hutchie. You boys winding your way towards Morecambe, a long old trip, home, of course, of Tyson Fury, Morecambe. So normally you'd be able to knock on his door and say hello, but Tyson's put a video out saying he's incommunicado while he trains for the Dillian White fight, unfortunately, so we won't get him on here. Hutchie, how are you feeling about this game? Morecambe, I've just been looking. They've not won at all this month. They've just come off a away defeat at Rotherham. I think the last time they won was towards the end of January, where they beat Wickham at home. So aside, not in very good form, struggling towards the foot of the table. What are your feelings on the trip to the Shrimps?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to go. I've never been, so I'm looking forward to going. So that's a nice box to tick. They've lost their manager, obviously, to St Mirren. Stephen Robinson's gone to St Mirren, and I'm not surprised at all to see that Derek Adams is back. He's the man that brought them up before going to Bradford. So he's been sacked by Bradford. So it makes an awful lot of sense to see him sort of back quite quickly. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what Ipswich can do. It's another one we look at and think we really want to see them win it. Even more so after Tuesday night. Looking forward to seeing Cole Stockton play again. I've enjoyed what he's been able to do recently. But it's all about Ipswich and all about seeing what they can do, because there's this, then there's the Fleetwood game. We know that it's going to be tough at Fleetwood. We've seen Fleetwood enough times. I'm really looking forward to that one, actually, with Ellis, Harrison and Toto and Ciala in the Fleetwood side. But yeah, just looking at this one as another game they need to win.
Spicy that Fleetwood game's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Added spice, narrative, as we say in sports journalism. Hutchie, we've said you think, both of you said you think Backington's going to be in this weekend. Back to the same old who plays up front chat. Are you still putting Bon up top? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I'd play Macaulay Bon.
And how about his two partners up top? Who would you play? Tell me who you'd play rather than who you think might play.
In general, I like the kind of the dual 10s that we've seen of certainly Selena. I'd play Selena. I think I'd probably play Selena and Aluko for this game. But for me, I would not be going with the kind of, and we haven't seen it for a little while, in fairness, the kind of Norwood left side thing. I would go with two of the three from Selena, Chaplin and Aluko as kind of dual attacking midfielders behind Macaulay Bon. And I'd probably go Aluko and Selena for this one.
Roscoe, what are you saying? You're going, obviously your boy Macaulay Bon, you're going to be leaning towards, I'd imagine. Who else would you stick up there? Or would you play Macaulay?
Yeah, I think this is a good game for him. I think maybe Kane Jackson he's done his bit the last two games, but I think maybe change it up. Just 11 players will play.
True.
I think it'll be a different front three from the Tuesday night game. Maybe Aluko comes in.
Aluko's kind of been an odd man out recently, hasn't he? We've not seen him for a little while. So maybe this is a good game for him. Caden, you'd imagine, will need a rest, wouldn't you? Given that he's kind of come from not playing at all to suddenly being the main man for the last couple of games.
Possibly. I like that he's going to be. I think he'll be a fixture in match day squads going forward. Now he's a player that could do some real damage in the right game from a bench as well as being a starter at times. I think what he's done in the last week or so will have played himself firmly into kind of the thoughts. I would, had Kyle Edwards not been injured, I'd be looking at him maybe to give Wes Burns a break in this one, because McKenna, when Edwards was sort of ruled out, McKenna was talking about, we'd been working on Kyle playing that wide right role, and he was looking good there in training. I think this would have been one maybe to give Burns a break, but I'm not sure. Not sure there's really a viable option to replace him. Kane Vincent-Young would be the one you'd look at, but I'd have wanted to see more from him on Tuesday night before I'd be thinking about giving him a start. I think they might be getting to a point where they kind of have to go with Burns, even if you're inclined to rest him, because even though the product's not necessarily been there, it's funny saying the product's not been there. He did score on Saturday, but in general, kind of the crossing's not quite been on point, but maybe you just look after him in terms of training and save him for games only. I don't know, but there's too much of a drop off, I would say, to leave him out.
Okay, shall we come on to £1 million picks, Hutchie? Before we get on to predictions. Now you sent in your £1 million pick via WhatsApp on Monday. Clearly you were off on Monday. Morsey to score again, which you said you're going to keep doing.
Yep.
Didn't come in again. Are you going to go with it again?
Yep.
Okay.
He should have scored by now. He got in another position to kind of potentially get a shot off from about 8 yards out on Tuesday night, but the ball just wouldn't drop for him. He's getting in the positions. He should have scored a goal by now, and I'm going to keep pounding until he does. So I'll put another £50,000 on him to do that, which this time the odds return £325,000. So I'll do that. But I also think, and there's some quite tasty odds here. I think Ipswich are going to concede in this game, and I think they're going to concede the first goal. But I think they're going to come from behind to ultimately win the match. Which, if you put £100,000 on it, which fortunately I've got to do, it returns a whole million.
Wow!
So it's 9-1 for them to come from behind to win. I think the odds are nicely boosted there because Ipswich haven't let in goals, so don't go behind. So I think they might have to. Show a little bit in this one. I think they might concede. They'll and do things the hard way. So I'll do that. 100 grand. Come from behind.
Stop breathing, Hutchie. You keep muting yourself.
My desk. The thing is, my desk isn't big enough, right, to fit my laptop. My little squidgy thing that stops me getting sore wrists and this microphone on all at once. So the wire is too close to my stomach, which isn't going to be helped by the fact that Ross has informed us that they've got the best pies in the EFL at Morecambe at the weekend, which I want to hear more of in a minute, Ross. But yeah, I'll go with that. 100 grand on that, 50 grand on Morsey. Could be an overall win of. They're not a double; they're separate bets. Could be an overall pot of £1.325 million, or could lose another 150 grand.
Could be a massive night in Morecambe Saturday night. Then I assume you're staying over, are you?
We're not after. We've all got to be back for Sunday morning, so we're going up on Friday night. So maybe we'll spend the winnings early.
Yeah.
Just it'll be fine. Just it'll get covered the following day.
Rossi, actually, Hutchie, give us a prediction. And you'll say they're going to come from behind and win. So what are you saying? 2-1?
2. I am. Yeah.
2-1. Rossi, what are you saying? And we can talk about pies.
Morecambe. I hope we don't do what we did at Accrington and lose. Going all that way is you don't want to lose.
It's further than Accrington, mate. Just so you're ready.
Yeah. I've looked at the map and didn't ever think I'll go that far in my life in the UK. To be fair, I've been to Carlisle, so I have been that far.
I love that.
You lucky boy.
I never dreamed I'd go as far as Morecambe.
Yeah,
I'm just a little boy from Ipswich. There's this whole world out there. It's like Lord of the Rings. Ross tracking up through the.
I just to let listeners know, I have been abroad. Do not worry. But,
we've been to Germany together. I was going to say.
Yeah. But yeah, when you look at the map, you think, bloody hell, that's far.
Yeah.
2-1. 2-1 Town.
2-1 Town. 2-1. I just love that concept of young Bosco. One day dreaming of travelling as far as Morecambe. Oh, amazing. I'm going to say 6-0 Town.
Only
Roscoe,
6.
Only 6. Yeah,
It's normally 7.
That's ridiculous, though, isn't it? 7-0. Rossi, tell us more about these pies, because as part of game day, or indeed as a separate bit of content, as we call it, I would love to see you trying a pie in a video form on Saturday. So, what did your man tell you? Good old Derek, whatever his name was.
He just said they were good pies, but I've also found a web story on the Morecambe official club website. They were actually honoured with the 2020 British Pie Awards, and the club have been awarded the class champion in the following categories: dessert pie, the Bromley apple pie, and the sports pie, the lamb and vegetable pie.
Sports pie.
Is that because you eat your pie before you do the sport? The lamb.
Possibly.
You've got the protein and the carbs. I like the sound of the dessert pie.
Yeah.
So do
Bromley
I.
apple pie. So yeah, they won it the awards back in 2020. So yeah, it's been running since 2009. The awards are a national celebration of British pies. So
there you go. There's few things better than a good apple pie. So I'd like you to try both, Roscoe.
If I can.
You have my permission to claim them back, because it's for work purposes.
It's only £1 apparently. So
a pound of pie, unbelievable value.
So yeah.
So I want to see you consuming a sports pie and a dessert pie.
Sports pie.
It must be isotonic, Hutchie.
Lucozade in the
in the sauce.
You see the players come off like, lads, come over, lads. Yeah, 20 minutes into the game, we need to get that sports pie in you.
That's just what you want to be eating after 25 minutes of a football game, a pie. Get that down, you boys. Won't sit heavy at all. Okay, so we're all predicting a win to lesser or greater extents at Morecambe. I can't wait to see this pie-based content as well. Rossi, in terms of games this weekend, Ipswich Town men at Morecambe is not the biggest game of the weekend for Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town women, the mighty Tractor girls, have the biggest game in the history of their games at home at Felixstowe in the FA Cup against fierce rivals Southampton on Sunday. Tell us all about it, because this is absolutely massive. It's a genuine chance for Ipswich Town ladies to reach the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. They've obviously made this round before, although technically in the history books I don't think it counts, but they definitely did when they got tonked by mighty Manchester City, which, no shame in that. Yeah. But this game is very much a winnable one. Very excited about it. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it's massive, boy. It is massive at the Gold Star. A chance for an Ipswich Town team, as you said, to get to a quarterfinals of the FA Cup. At least the women's team, they can actually win cup games. With the men's team, they can't. Although it's just about beating Oldham in a replay. But enough of that. But yeah, it's going to be, we've played Southampton already this season twice. Once actually in a cup competition, actually lost in the League Cup. But that doesn't matter. We don't care about that. It's all about the FA Cup. Tickets are available if you fancy going on the actually official club website, where you can get home tickets for the men. They're actually on the website there. £6.50 for adults, £4.50 for the seniors, and then under 16s are free. And there's also a True Blue membership. But no, it should be a very good occasion on Sunday at the Gold Star. Hopefully a record crowd. I think they're trying to get hopefully 1,000, 2,000. That's the goal. And there'll be some Town fans who won't be going to Morecambe because they probably feel don't want to go to Morecambe. So if you fancy your football fix, go on Sunday to support the girls and hopefully see history and a team get into the quarterfinals.
And Southampton, as I say, they are your big rivals, aren't they? In terms of this season, they're the kind of one team that Town have been going back and forth with at the top of the table. How have we done against them so far this season? Did you say?
So yeah, as I mentioned, we lost unfortunately against them in the League Cup. Early in the season, but then we beat them at their place in the league 2-0. So it's going into this third game. Can Town make it 2 out of 3? And of course, this is the biggest game, and then we've got to play them in the league I think next month, which will be a big decider for the league title. But Southampton are an annoying team. They keep postponing games, keep playing cup games. They haven't played in the league for nearly a month, so they've got so many games in hand. But no, it should be an entertaining game. I think. Was it your first game, Hutchie? You saw Town women's play with your daughter? Was it the Southampton game? I think. Yeah.
No, it wasn't
bad.
Southampton. No, it was. Who's the team that play in Yeovil? It's not Yeovil.
Bridgewater. No.
Bridgewater. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Rossi, is this is the Thrilogy.
Yeah.
The Thrilogy. You see what I've done there? This is maybe going to be the first time that people are tuning in, getting interested in it. Ipswich Town winning with such a big game. Who are the names to look out for? We know Natasha Thomas is something of a legend, the striker. But there is talent all over the pitch, isn't there, in terms of ability and skill and players to watch. So give us some names other than Natasha Thomas that we can look forward to doing big things on Sunday.
Of course, and just like the men's town team, we've got a solid back three. Sarah Quantra on goal, and then we've got Paige Peake, Liv Smith, and Lucy Egan. Lucy Egan's the destroyer. She's that's what her name is, and Paige Peake, Liv Smith are the consistent partners with her. You got to also look out for a forward three of Zoe Barrett, Maddie Biggs. And you've got Abby Lafayette, who was on the podcast, Track the Girls Talk with me and Blue Wilson, the Town Women's skipper. Unfortunately, Blue is not normally a player you should look out for, but she's unfortunately injured at the moment. But yeah, Abby Lafayette has been the superstar this season. 10 assists, 4 goals. So look out for her. She does all the set pieces. So hopefully we can see a set piece goal. That's what we're known for. So look out for that. Yeah, but hopefully Natasha Thomas can score as well.
She's the record goal scorer in Town Ladies history, isn't she? How many goals has she scored? So
top of my head, 112, something like
wow.
that. Maybe more. But so yeah, she's scored a lot of goals in her career. So and she's done well this year, 15 goals so far in all competitions.
Prolific. So what? Just round up then, Rossi. That's at the Goldstyle Ground in Felixstowe Sunday. What time does it kick off?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Tickets still available. Go along and support the Tractor Girls because it is a fantastic opportunity to get into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and then I assume get through to that stage. It's all the big guns, is it? Then
there's of course there's possibility of actually playing teams like West Brom who are in our level, but they play in the northern section. So if they win their game, we could then play West Brom. Hopefully, if we get that draw, and then we possibly could beat them when we're in the semis, and then the big boys will be there. But Manchester City, Man United, they play each other in this round, so one of those will be out. But of course, Chelsea and Arsenal, they're the teams probably going to be gunning to win this competition. But we shall see.
And obviously, we have our own dedicated podcast hosted by your good self, Rossi. There's one this week looking towards that game. Just remind us. You say it's got Abby and obviously your co-host, excellent by the way, Blue Wilson, on the podcast. So that's there to listen to now, isn't it? This morning.
Yeah, tune into that. A lot of great chat. Also a good quiz. Although I've been told that one of the questions, or one of the answers, is wrong. So
does that mean it? Is that still a good quiz?
Yeah, it's good. But yeah, I was told by Kieran and also Joe, the manager of Ipswich Town, was saying I've got a question wrong. So tune in.
There we go. Go and listen to that then. Build up to that massive game on Sunday. Hutchie, any other business? We've talked about the draw at home on Tuesday night. We've talked about the trip to the Shrimps, and we've talked about the massive FA Cup game for the Tractor Girls this weekend. Anything else you want to mention? What's the shirt of the day behind you? Is that that Brazilian one with the map? Oh man, which team is that?
Atletico Mineiro.
That is beautiful. I didn't realize you had one of those. Fantastic. If you're not watching on video, there was it went viral, didn't it? The shirt, Hutchie.
Yeah, I don't like it.
You don't like it? Oh,
in physical form, I don't like it. It looks better in all the pictures.
Okay, that's
in the promotional shots, but it's all right. It's all right.
Have you added any more classics to your collection recently? You told me you were getting Venezia FC.
Venezia's on the way yet. No more other than that.
What's the flat pack furniture you got behind you?
I'll lean the other way. Yeah, flat pack furniture. That is the third and final box from what I spent my entire Saturday. I spent 5 hours on Saturday morning before going to Portman Road building my daughter's new bed. So the first box is one of those beds, like it's a mid-level bed, so she has to go up some steps to get it. So I built the bed, and then there's a chest of drawers that go underneath it. That flat pack box is the desk, which kind of pulls out from underneath it. But we've decided she's not going to have that just yet. She's going to enjoy a bit of a cubby hole underneath the bed instead of filling it with a desk.
Superb. Rossi, you been building any beds recently?
To be fair, when I first moved into this place with my girlfriend, I actually did do it all by myself, and I was pretty proud of myself. It's still standing, so happy days.
Not like
bed,
Step Brothers.
I'm going to say, I assume it is a bunk bed, is it, Rossi?
No, it's a nice king size, you know.
Of course it is. Right then, no other business from the boys. That just leaves me to do the usual shambolic outro, which starts with me reminding you to support our sponsors, Manscaped. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free delivery on all that excellent stuff there. Also, follow us across all our social medias, YouTube, particularly we're building at the moment, Kings of Anglia on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We can now share links to stories via Instagram. So if you're not following us on Instagram, make sure you're on there because we'll put some links up as part of the story. That is the show for today. We've talked about the draw with Cheltenham. We've looked ahead to Morecambe and also the huge game for the Tractor Girls this weekend. This weekend, Ross realises a dream when he travels as far as Morecambe. And let's hope with that dream realised, it showers goals at Morecambe. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll speak to you next time.